Okay, the concept of the concept of market structure is a tool for providing some framework to the theories investigating the market situation. The commonest three elements of market structure had been deposited by economists as the number, size, and size distribution of sellers and buyers, the degree of the market differentiation, and the condition of entry into the market. The setting of place of competition to the firm is called market structure. The market structure is the setting in which the enterprise services receives competitive discipline, or through which the rule of competition is made effective. Therefore, one can say that market structure involves important small number of strategic environmental factors affecting all basic decisions of the firm. The concept of market structure is included in the broader concept in the environment of the enterprise. The environment of enterprise can be viewed of three overlapping parts. The general environment of an institutional setting, an institutional environment. The economic condition, basic condition, and the specific environment which or so directly upon the enterprise that it affects all the important decisions. Firms sell goods and services under different market conditions, which is generally referred to as market structure. A market structure describes the key traits of a market, including the number of firms, the similarity of the products they sell, and the ease of entry, info, and exit from the market. The business sector of an economy is constituted by firms operating in different market structures. The four major market structures are perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly. Others are duopoly or monopsony. Perfect competition. Perfect competition is the market structure where an infinitely large number of buyers and sellers operate freely and sell homogeneous commodity at a uniform price. It has the features of unlimited constability, so no barriers to entry, unlimited number of producers and consumers, and a perfect elastic demand curve. The major characteristic of perfect competition is large number of buyers and sellers, homogeneous product, free entry and exit, perfect knowledge of market, perfect mobility of factors: production, market price under perfect competition. In a perfectly competitive industry, market price is determined by the intersection of the demand and supply curve. The market demand curve shows the total amount that individual buyers of the commodity will purchase at any price. The market supply shows the total amount that individual suppliers of commodity will supply at any price. The output decision of a perfect competitive firm, as a purely competitive firm is a price taker, it can maximize its economic profit or minimize its loss only by adjusting its output. In the short run, the firm has a fixed factor of production. Thus, it can adjust its output only through changes in the amount of variable resources it uses. Profit maximization in the short run is the total revenue subtracted by total cost approach. Monopoly. Monopoly is the form of market organization in which there is a single seller of a commodity, for which there is no close substitute. Thus, it is the opposite extreme from perfect competition, as the pure monopoly exists when a single firm is the sole producer of product. Major characteristic features of monopoly: single seller, products without substitute, restriction of entry for new firms, price discrimination, limited consumer choice, price in excess of marginal cost. So, sources of monopoly power: barriers to entry, existence of large economies of scale, patent law, sole ownership of resource. This is about monopoly. Monopoly is a very significant structure. Oligopoly. The term oligopoly means few sellers. An oligopoly is an industry composed of only few firms or a small number of large firms producing bulk of its output. In other words, oligopoly exists where few large firms producing a homogeneous or differentiated product dominate a market. Since the industry comprises only a few firms or a few large firms, any change in price and output by an individual firm is likely to influence the profit and output of rival firms. Automobile and gasoline industries, major soft drink firms, airlines, and milk firms can be cited as an example of oligopoly. Main features: a few firms, interdependence, barriers to the entry of firms, non-price competition, reliance of advertising, demand uncertainty, product differentiation, sticky price, cohesive and competitive oligopoly. This organization inside the market of oligopoly. This is considered as the question here is, what do we mean by market structures? The concept of market is central to the understanding of the determination of price and quantity of output of commodity under consideration. In ordinary language, the term market refers to a public place in which goods and services are bought and sold. In economics, it has a different meaning. Different economists have tried to define market in different ways. Kant defines market as not any particular marketplace in which things are bought and sold, but the whole of any region in which buyers and sellers are in such free intercourse with each other that the prices of the same goods tend to equality easily and quickly. Market means the general field within which the force determining the price of particular product operate. Have explained the term market as any organization whereby buyers and sellers of a good are kept in close touch with each other. Thus, market had the following basic components. Buyers, they should be buyers of the product. If a country consists of people who are very poor, they can hardly be market for example like cars we see. Sellers, a commodity should be offered for sale in the market. Otherwise, there is no question of buying the commodity. Contact, buyers and sellers should have close contact with each other. Price, there should be a price for the commodity. The exchange of commodities between buyers and sellers occur at particular price which is mutually agreeable to both the buyers and sellers. This is because in modern economy most of the production does not take place for self-consumption by the producers themselves. Thus, by the term market of a good, it should not be taken to mean a place where the buyers and sellers meet each other and conduct purchase and sale transaction. The market consists of two components, a firm and an industry. A firm is a business unit engaged in the task of producing and selling of goods or services. It is defined by the fact that it is only one unit of entrepreneurship. The entrepreneurship may be not provided by a single individual. It may be exercised jointly by a board of or a group of individuals in some defined manner. However, the firm has a unified and coordinated authority of decision making. An industry is a set of firms which are conceptually closely associated in the sense of having some common types of activities. A good example of an industry is a set of firms which are producing a certain type of a manufactured good or providing a certain type of service. The goods supplied by the firms of the industry may be homogeneous in sense that the buyers believe that products of all firms are perfect of each other. So perfect market. This lecture about the market structure. Market is the context where sellers are buyers and buyers are meeting to exchange goods and services and money. There are four actually forms of market structure: perfect market competition, monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition. We will highlight this lecture giving the main characteristics and definitions of the structure of the market. First is perfect market. Perfect market is a market situation where consists of a very large number of buyers and sellers offering a homogeneous product. Under such condition, no firm can affect the market price. Price is determined through the market demand and supply of the particular product. Since no single buyer or seller has any control over the price. Perfect competition is built on two critical assumptions: the behavior of an individual firm, the nature of the industry in which it operates. The firm is assumed to be a price taker. The industry is characterized by freedom of entry and exits. So, among these characteristics, there is two very critical assumptions. The last two two assumptions. First, the firm is assumed to be a price taker. Two, the industry is characterized by freedom of entry and exit. So, perfect market is actually a public market. Very large number of buyers and sellers. The free entrance and exit from this market. The main also here, the product offering in this market are homogeneous. Characteristics of perfect market competition. There are very many small firms. All producers of a good sell the same product. There are no barriers, no difficulties to enter the market. All consumers and producers have perfect information. Firms sell all they produce, but they cannot set a price. Short analysis of perfect competition. The firm's objectives is to produce the level of output that will maximize profit. Some inputs are variable and therefore fixed costs arise regardless whether the firm is operating or not. Since the firm is a price taker, it has no control on the price of a product. So the main characteristics of perfect competition. The firms are very small. Number two, the producers produce the same product. That's why we describe them as homogeneous product. There are no barriers to enter the market, no difficulties to enter the market or to exit from the market. All consumers and producers have perfect information. That's good. Now, to analyze shortly the perfect competition, the firm objective is to produce the level of output that will maximize profit. Some inputs are variable and therefore fixed costs arise regardless whether the firm is operating or not. So this is very significant. Fixed costs arise regardless whether the firm is operating or not. Since the firm is a price taker, it has no control on the price of a product. The main here, price taker, perfect information, and freedom to enter or to exit from the market. Imperfect competition, imperfect market. In economic theory, imperfect competition is a type of market structure showing some but not all features of competitive markets. Forms of imperfect competition include monopoly, oligopoly, monopolistic competition. These three structures are known as imperfect market, monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition. So these are the form of imperfect market. Monopoly. Monopoly comes from a Greek word monos, which means one, and pollen, which means to sell. There is only one seller of goods or services. A monopoly should be distinguished from a cartel. Because difference, don't confuse the two terms, monopoly and cartel. Cartel refers to a market situation in which firms agree to cooperate with one another to behave as if they were a single firm, and thus eliminate competitive behavior among them. So here we need to distinguish between the cartel and monopoly. Monopoly actually means only one seller of goods or services. This monopoly is a form of imperfect competition. In the form of imperfect competition. One seller of goods or services. Sources of monopoly. There is only one producer or seller of goods and only one provider of services in this market. One seller of goods and one provider of service. New firms find extreme difficulty in entering the market. The existing monopolist is considered giant in its field or industry. There are no available substitute goods or services, so that it is considered unique. Why? This is a question. Why goods and services are unique? Because there is one seller and one provider. So it controls the total supply of raw materials in the industry and has no control over price. It controls, this is the main, controls total supply of raw materials. It has a patent or copyright to produce exactly this unique good or to provide a certain service. Take an example, before. One communication company, for example, its operations are under economies of scale for very long run. This is the source of monopoly. Why we call it monopoly? Classification of monopoly. Monopolies are classified according to circumstances they arise from. That is, cost structure of the industry, possibly the result of law or by other means. First, we are talking about the natural monopoly. Natural monopoly is a market situation where a single firm can supply the entire market due to the fundamental cost structure of the industry. Legal monopoly. Legal monopoly is sometimes called as de jure monopoly, a form of monopoly which the government grants to a private individual or firm over the product or services. Coercive monopoly is a form of monopoly whose existence as the sole producer and distributor of goods and services is by means of coercion, legal or illegal, so that most of the time it violates the principle of free market just to avoid competition. A monopolist is considered a price taker, since he is the sole seller of product that has no close substitute in the market. So here we are talking about three classifications of monopoly: natural monopoly, legal monopoly, and coercive monopoly. These three forms differ inside the structure of monopoly. Natural monopoly, as we mentioned, is a market situation where the single firm can supply the entire market due to the fundamental cost structure based on structure. Legal is sometimes called as de jure monopoly, de facto, which the government grants to a private individual or firm. This form legal, so it provides by government. Coercive monopoly is a form of monopoly whose existence as the sole producer and distributor of goods and services. A monopolist is considered a price taker since he is the sole seller of a product that has no close substitute in the market. So according to this classification, it based on the circumstances they arise from, that is, cost structure of the industry. This classification is based on the cost structure of industry. Oligopoly. Also, it comes from the Greek word oligo, which means few, and polyin means to sell. It is a small number of sellers, each aware of the action of others. All decisions depend on how the firm behave in relation to each other in oligopoly. Conjectural interdependence is present, that is, the decision of one firm influences and are influenced by the decision of other firms in the market. So here we are talking about a small number of sellers, each aware of the action of others. All decisions depend on how the firms behave in the relation to each other in oligopoly. Conjectural interdependence is present. So the main characteristics of oligopoly are: there are a small number of firms in the market selling differentiated or identical products. So it is not a homogeneous. Differentiated or identical products. The firm has control over price because of the small number of firms providing the entire supply of a certain product. There is an extreme difficulty for new competitors to enter the market. So the main characteristics of oligopoly is: there are a small number of firms in the market selling differentiated or identical products. Number 2, the firm has control over price because of the small number of firms providing the entire supply of a certain product. 3, there is an extreme difficulty for new competitors to enter the market. Type of oligopoly: pure or perfect oligopoly, imperfect or differentiated oligopoly, collusive oligopoly, non-collusive oligopoly. These are 4 forms of oligopoly. Pure or perfect: if the firms produce homogeneous products inside among the structure. imperfect or differentiated if the firms produce differentiated products. Collusive oligopoly if the firms cooperate with each other in determining price or outputs or both. Non-collusive oligopoly if firms in oligopoly market compete with each other. These are 4 forms or types of oligopoly: pure perfect, imperfect or differentiated, collusive, non-collusive. This is main types or forms. Let's see 2 organizations inside this structure: cartel and collusion. Cartel is a formal agreement among oligopolists to set up a monopoly price, allocate output, and share profit among members. Collusion is a formal or an informal agreement among oligopolists to adopt policies that will restrict or reduce the level of competition in the market. So here we are talking about 4 types and 2 organizations inside the structure. Four types: pure, imperfect, collusive, and non-collusive. 2 organizations are highlighted here: cartel and collusion. You can distinguish between these 2 organizations. Cartel is a formal agreement to set up a monopoly price, allocate output, and share profit among members. So these 3 characteristics of cartel: to set a monopolistic price, to allocate output, and to share profit among members. Collusion, it is an agreement among oligopolists to adopt policies that will restrict or reduce the level of competition in the market. So its mission is to formulate policies that will restrict or reduce the level of competition inside the market. The last form is monopolistic competition. So this number 4, as we mentioned before, there are 4 known but not limited. Monopolistic competition: market situation in which there are many sellers producing highly differentiated products. Monopolistic competition is also perfect competition plus product differentiation. Product differentiation gives each monopolistic competitor some market power, since each competitor can raise price slightly without losing all its customers. This is about monopolistic competition. The definition of the monopolistic competition is the market situation in which there are many sellers producing highly differentiated products. Also known as perfect competition, a combination of perfect competition and product differentiation. It gives some market power. Characteristics of monopolistic competition. A large number of buyers and sellers in a given market act independently. There is a limited control of price because of product differentiation. Sellers offer differentiated products or similar but not identical products. New firms can enter market easily. However, there is a greater competition in the sense that new firms have to offer better features of their products. Economic rivalry centers not only upon price but also upon product variation and product promotion. These are main characteristics of monopolistic competition. Very large number of buyers and sellers. Limited control of price because of product differentiation. Sellers offer differentiated products or similar but not identical products. New firms can enter the market easily. Economic rivalry centers not only upon price but also upon product variation and product promotion. This is about the characteristics of monopolistic competition. Monopsony, it is other type of structure but not main. Monopsony, a market situation in which there is only one buyer of goods and one provider of services in the market. It is sometimes considered analogous to monopoly, in which there is only one seller of goods and services in the market. Monopsony power gives them the ability to control their unit cost for an input which is similar to the way the monopoly controls their price. So it can be considered as a form of monopoly in that sense there is only one seller. But monopsony power gives them the ability to control their unit cost for an input which is similar to the way of monopoly controls their price. This is about the monopoly. Monopoly, a market situation in which there is only one buyer of goods and only one provider of services in the market. Oligopoly, a market situation where there are a small number of buyers. This is usually with a small number of firms competing to obtain the factors of production. Under this market situation, firms or buyers are not sellers. Firms are buyers and not sellers. This is sometimes analogous to oligopoly, where there are very few sellers. Generally, we're talking about four main types of market structure: is perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition plus one form of monopoly it is a monopoly, and other form of oligopoly is oligopoly. Generally, we can talk about 6 structures of market. 6 structure of market. 2 are branches. We can say that branches of means oligopoly. It can sometimes it is analogous of to oligopoly. Monopoly, it is analogous of to the monopoly. Okay, let us use the following chart to explain or to compare between these main 4 structures due to the mention of basics. There are 4 given 4 structure: perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition. Now, first basic to compare: number of firms. In perfect competition, it is unlimited numbers of firms. In monopoly, there is one firm. Oligopoly, 2 or more. Monopolistic, many firms. The second basic is average size of firm. The size of firm in the perfect competition is small. In monopoly is very large. Oligopoly, it is large. In the monopolistic competition market, small to medium. Let's see the basic of nature of product. The nature of product in the perfect competition are same, homogeneous. The market of monopoly is unique. The market of oligopoly is identical, differentiated. But in the monopolistic competition, it is just differentiated. Barriers to entry. In perfect competition, there is no barriers to enter to market or to exit from. None. In the market of monopoly is very significant the barrier. Also in the market of oligopoly, also it is very significant barriers to enter this market. But in the monopolistic competition, there is a few barriers. As you see, the similarity of the barriers in two markets, monopoly and oligopoly. Let's see the government intervention. There is no government intervention in the market of perfect competition. Yes, there is government intervention in the market of monopoly, but it assumes that, since that is very some interventions by government in the market of oligopoly, but also as in the market of perfect competition, in the monopolistic competition there is no government intervention. Let's see output restrictions. In the market of perfect competition there is no output restriction, but in the monopoly most restriction. In the market of oligopoly is restricted, some restrictions. Also in the monopolistic competition is restricted. Interdependence relation between. The relation characteristic in the market of perfect competition is independent. In the market of monopoly, no competitors. Oligopoly, interdependence decisions. Monopolistic competition, independent. So this is the first chart. The goal of this chart is to compare the comparison chart between these four markets due to the mentioned basics of comparison. Continue the comparison chart due to the mentioned four basic of comparison. Let's see the profit making decision. Profit making is very low in perfect competition. In the market of monopoly is high, also in oligopoly is high, but in the monopolistic competition is medium. Price and marginal cost. Price equal marginal cost in the perfect competition. In the remains, price more than marginal cost. In monopoly, oligopoly, and in the monopolistic competition. Demand curve, which expresses the relation inside these markets. In perfect competition, the demand curve is horizontal. In the market of monopoly, sloping down. but inelastic. In oligopoly, it is sloping down, inelastic but kinked sloping down. In the monopolistic competition, is sloping down but elastic. Pricing decisions. In the market of perfect competition, marginal cost equal marginal revenue equal price. In the market of monopoly, marginal cost equal marginal revenue. In oligopoly, pricing strategy. In the market of monopolistic competition, marginal cost equal marginal revenue. MC stands for marginal cost, MR stands for marginal revenue, P stands for price. So this is the last chart, comparison chart between these four structures according to various basics of comparison.